Hello and welcome to Canadian Football League Weekly, presented by the World of Football. Each week we're going to be recapping the games played up north in the CFL, and we're also going to take a look ahead to next week's games. Our mission here is to educate American football fans on the teams and players in the CFL in the hope that they will come to love the league as much as Adam and I do. I am Randy Snow, and this is my son Adam.
Hi, everybody.
This is
Hi,
our
Canada.
this is our second season of doing Canadian Football League Weekly. We had a great time doing it last year because we knew we were going to be going to the Grey Cup game, so we put a lot of effort into last year's show. Not saying we're not going to put a lot of effort into this year's show, but it's going to be pared down a little bit because that was a lot of work last
Speak for
year.
yourself.
There's a lot of work
put
for
in
you last
the least
year.
amount of
to do this.
effort. Yeah. Look, these are streamlined recaps, everybody. If you want highlights, hey, go check out the great highlight packages the CFL puts together.
Absolutely.
Because they do an amazing job. If you missed a game, a 12, 13-minute highlight package on their YouTube channel, website will get you caught up and makes you feel like you watched the entire game pretty much. I mean, they do a fantastic job over there.
Yep. And there were definitely some great highlights from this week's games. We'll get into that as we talk about the games in week one of the 2025 season of the CFL. Let's start with the Thursday night game, the game that kicked off the season. Saskatchewan Roughriders over the Ottawa Redblacks, 31-26. This was a game between Trevor Harris and Drew Brown, and Ottawa was up 7-0 in the first quarter. They trailed 17-7 at the half. Saskatchewan went on to lead 31-14 at the end of the third quarter, but Ottawa made a bit of a comeback, but they hung on. Saskatchewan hung on for a 5-point win at the end. This was a pretty good game to open the season with. I don't know if you saw the game or not, but I did.
Oh.
I watched it.
Oh, yeah. I watched from the beginning. I tuned in a little early. At first, I kept thinking it was on CFL Plus, and I'm sitting there and it's telling me, nope, you can't watch. I'm like, oh, crap, this would be a bummer. And then I realized, oh, I probably should jump over and check out CBS Sportsnet, and that's what had it on here in the States. So I was able to catch the beginning of the game. They did some really cool stuff to start. They did like in memoriam for some Saskatchewan Roughrider legends, which was kind of cool. A little weird because I was like, oh, an in memoriam, that's an interesting way to start your year. And there was something else. They had obviously you got to see their national anthem, which is always fun. So
sure, yeah.
It kind of got me ready for the fact that we were watching Canadian football. And this was probably the best game of the week. I'm not going to lie. This is my game of the week. I had a bunch of fun watching this. I figured Saskatchewan was going to win, but I wasn't sure what to make of this Ottawa team going into the season. And they started off strong. I mean, Ottawa came out, guns a-blazing. Ottawa looked like the better team to start this game. But somewhere about the last couple of minutes of the first quarter, I think, is when Saskatchewan kind of really took a hold of this game and took it from there. And every time I watch a Saskatchewan game, I tell you, that's one of the next places I want to go. I want to go out there and check out a game in Saskatchewan, preferably in nice weather. Sorry, guys, I can't deal with cold, and it's an outdoor stadium. But I want to go out there, especially like at a night game where they do all the green lights and stuff. I just feel like that'd be a cool atmosphere. But look, I like watching the Rough Riders play. They got a lot of great players on there. I thought Trevor Harris looked pretty good throughout the game. And even Drew Brown. I thought this was a great quarterback duel, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So both these teams, I'm very excited for where Ottawa could go. Despite them losing this game, I still have a lot of confidence that if Ottawa could be right in the mix at the end of the year. And it's only week one. I mean, everything can change in a little bit, but I liked what I saw out of Ottawa at the end of the day, too, despite them getting the loss. Because Drew Brown threw for 413 yards in this game? Oh, boy. We're in for a heck of a season.
Yeah. Well, I'll run down some stats here in a second, but I disagree that this was the best game of the weekend. I've got another one coming up here in a bit that I think was the best game of the weekend. But
wow, I'll fight you. Let's do it.
All right. For the stats from this game, Saskatchewan quarterback Trevor Harris was 19 of 26 for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Justin Hardy had 8 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Braylon Addison had 8 catches for 112 yards in the game. And then for Ottawa, quarterback Drew Brown was 34 of 41 passing for 413 yards, like you said, 2 touchdowns he threw. Wide receiver Samuel Emilus had 8 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown. It's weird that Justin Hardy and Samuel Emilus both had 8 catches for 133 yards on opposite teams. It's just I had to look at that twice because I thought I wrote it down wrong, but they had the exact same stats. One caught a touchdown, the other one didn't. But yeah, 8
And
catches for.
how about but how
Go ahead.
about that Saskatchewan defense too? They got some dudes, they got some studs. How about Jameer Thurman, who had 10 tackles and a sack during this game? Like I was really enjoying watching that Saskatchewan defense. I'm not gonna lie. They I whatever it was, Jameer was flying. He made a lot of plays, and I don't know. I was digging watching the Rough Riders. I mean, I know they're not my team. I mean, I'm a Argos guy, but I mean, I love all the CFL teams, but I like
Right.
Saskatchewan. I like what they're doing over there, so I'm very excited to see what they could do this year because I felt like oh boy, they fell short last year. I thought they had a chance to make a run last year, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, my only game note from this one is that Saskatchewan was actually uh, outscored 12-0 in the fourth quarter by Ottawa, but they still hung on for the win because they had a,
Yeah,
a
they
big
did.
lead there. So yeah, they made,
Yep.
made a comeback, but it just wasn't enough to win this game. I kind of expected Saskatchewan to win this game, but week one, you never know what to expect. New players, new coaches. Sometimes, who knows? It's very different for week one, but we'll see as the weeks go along.
Yeah, I was gonna pick, or I did pick Saskatchewan probably to take this week's game. They ended up doing it, but like I said, Ottawa. Now that I kind of see what they're about, I'm gonna be very, very confident with Ottawa. I think going forward, but like I said, it's early. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game, a Friday night game. This was the Montreal Alouettes over our Toronto Argonauts, 28-10. Toronto quarterback Nick Arbuckle versus Davis Alexander for Montreal. Arbuckle was the Grey Cup MVP last year, and he started for Toronto this week because Chad Kelly is still recovering from last year's leg injury that he suffered in the East Finals. I didn't realize that until after the game. I wondered, why is Arbuckle
Yeah,
starting? Where's Chad Kelly? And
against this same Montreal Alouettes
yeah,
team. So
yeah. So yeah, I guess he'd been practicing all week long, getting ready, and the coaches just said, you know what, we think you need to rest a little bit longer. We don't want to put you in and risk another injury. So he did not play. So Arbuckle did okay, but not good enough to win this game.
clearly,
Let's see. Montreal was up 8-0 after the first period. They were up 15-3 at halftime, up 22-3 at the end of the third quarter, and final score being 28-10. The big difference here was the Argonauts committed 4 turnovers in this game, so that's kind of the difference
yeah,
right there. It's 4 turnovers.
yeah, you can't do that. It doesn't matter what level or what league. It's turnovers or killers,
Yeah,
and especially against the Montreal team that's been very good for the last several years. I mean, they're only a couple years removed from winning a Grey Cup. They were a game away from going back last year. So this is a very well built Alouettes team, and you can't give them that. And Toronto, I'm not saying Toronto's not built well either. It's just they were missing a couple guys.
yeah,
Obviously missing their quarterback, it's going to hurt. But I mean, we thought Arbuckle could handle the load. He did great in that Grey Cup game last year. So,
yeah.
uh, but hey, look, maybe Toronto. I won't say Toronto's falling off a cliff again. Week one, we're not hitting the
Week one.
panic button yet, anybody.
Nope.
But credit where credit is due. That Montreal team, they got all 3 phases. I felt like they
did.
were from the beginning, from the jump. I just felt like every phase was Montreal's advantage.
Yep.
And the first rouge of the year during this game too. That was great. I love seeing a 1-0 score there early on. But and also tip of the cap to the fans in Montreal. Another great atmosphere for opening weekend.
Right.
Looked like a madhouse there. We know somebody who was there, and it looked great. It looked a lot of fun. I love seeing these packed CFL stadiums.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. All right, let's look at some of the stats from this game. Montreal quarterback Davis Alexander was 19 of 26 for 205 yards and a touchdown. He also threw an
You said
interception.
Montreal, right? It sounded like you said Toronto. I could
Did
be wrong.
I meant to say Montreal. If I didn't, I don't know. But
Okay, maybe I was wrong.
19 of 26 for 205 yards and a touchdown, plus an interception. Uh, Running back Sean Thomas Erlington, one of the best names out there, had 86 yards on 17 carries, and wide receiver Tyson Philpott had 4 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown. For Toronto, Nick Arbuckle was 20 of 32 passing for 273 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Wide receiver DeMonte Coxey had 5 catches for 99 yards, and wide receiver David Ungerer had 4 catches for 82 yards. Neither of those wide receivers, however, had a touchdown in the game. My game notes from this game, people might be wondering, where is Cody Fajardo from Montreal? He's now a backup with the Edmonton Elks. That happened during the off season. And another note that came out this week, that the Argonauts unveiled their 111th Grey Cup championship rings. These are the coolest things I've seen in a while. And I hope they produce some replicas for the fans, because I would love to have one of these. It looks like the top of the ring comes off because it was played at BC Place with a dome. You take that off, and around the stadium, if you look real close, it's got all the years that Toronto has won a championship. All 19. It's got all the different years on the different sections of the stadium. Really, really cool. There's a lot more symbolism to it, but that's the main things that I took from that. So I'd love to have one of those rings.
Oh yeah, we got replica rings for their last championship.
Yep.
I would love a replica one for this one.
Absolutely.
And, gonna have to start getting the little Grey Cup trophies for all the different years they've won too, and start putting them somewhere. I think I got a tiny one from a couple years ago. I got to get the new batch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of cool souvenirs. But yeah, that's all my notes from this game. Anything else that you wanted to add about this game?
Not really. Other than again, great atmosphere there in Montreal. I love seeing it. I'm very happy to have the CFL come back. Oh, something else I guess we didn't mention during the first game, the new score bug for all the TSN game or all the CFL games. I like that little. It's clean. You know what I'm talking about, right? The score bug at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The game.
I didn't notice anything different from last year, but it's just me.
It's clean.
You notice that sort of stuff. I don't.
I do. It's clean looking. It looks great. Kudos CFL. Good job.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a moment here for a commercial. We don't only do this this Canadian Football League weekly podcast. We have a regular podcast, audio podcast that we do. I've been doing it for almost 8 years. It's called This Week in the World of Football, and we are going to be celebrating our 400th episode on July 1st with a live event at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm a little nervous about this. We've never done live before. Everything we've done is recorded. So you've been saying we needed to do something live. We've been on other people's live podcasts before, but this is going to be ours, and we're going to have some special guests. We've got at least 4 of them that have said okay, and we'll be announcing those here shortly. But looking forward to this, I guess. So if you like train wrecks, check it out and see what happens when we go live.
Yeah, and one of our guests is Canadian, everybody. Looking forward to having it. We'll have the official post about who's all going to be on the show. If you've followed us for long enough, you know who that is. You know who's going to be. And also, what's funny is July 1st, when we do that live stream, it will also be Canada Day. So an extra incentive to tune in to our 400th episode live on YouTube, where we'll also be having a couple of little contests during the live stream. And we're going to try to have a great time. Even if we screw up, we want to make some memories. And I'm sure we'll have to keep a couple people, in check, because we don't want some bad language slipping out there, Andy. We know who we're talking about.
I hope we're making good memories, not bad memories, to be putting out there. All right, let's move on to the last 2 games of the weekend. 2 games on Saturday. The first game on Saturday was the Calgary Stampeders over the Hamilton Tiger Cats, 38-26. This was a game between quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell and Vernon Adams Jr. Calgary was up 18-9 at halftime. Hamilton's return man Isaiah Wooden had a 105 kickoff return for a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Too little, too late for Hamilton, though. But that was an awesome play. I posted the replay of that on our social medias, because that was an amazing run by him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game, I was very anxious about this game because Bo Levi Mitchell had a heck of a season last year. What was it? He threw for 5,000 passing yards. He led the league, I think. So he had a great year. I mean, the Ticats didn't do much, but he was outstanding, I think. And then the fact that the Stampeders got Vernon Adams. Vernon Adams to me is the Jameis Winston of the CFL. I think I'm going to brand him because he can be so much fun to watch when he is on. And he had a few plays where I was like, dang, that is why you get a Vernon Adams. And then there's a few plays where you're shaking your head and like, that's a Vernon Adams. Throwing a couple of rough picks. Granted, I don't think they were all his fault or both his fault. He had some guys in his face. I think the O-line's got to, step up there for Calgary. But they ended up getting the win. At the end of the day, that's what you want, and they can improve. They got the makings of some good stuff there in Calgary. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do the rest of the year. And Ticats, though, the commendable comeback there at the end because I thought they were done in the fourth quarter. But they showed some life and some promise, and that's what you want.
Yeah. Looking at the stats from this game, for Calgary, Vernon Adams was 19 of 28 passing for 284 yards, no touchdowns, however, and he threw 2 interceptions. Running back Dedrick Mills had 94 yards on 17 carries and 3 touchdowns himself. Your quarterback doesn't need to throw touchdown passes when you got a running back that gets you 3 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
And then finally, wide receiver Clark Barnes had 4 catches for 112 yards. For Hamilton, Bo Levi Mitchell was 31 of 50 for 304 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Kenny Lawler had 6 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. We've been saying this ever since last year. The quarterback with the best stats does not always win the game. That was so true this week. It was true a lot last year in a lot of those games. The losing quarterback has so much better stats, and I don't know why that is, but it just is. I don't know what else.
I mean, it's just got to be. It's we always talk about down here in the States and the NFL, like padding your stats at the end of the game because you're coming back. Defense plays soft, and in the CFL, that much bigger field allows for so much. A lot of open plays. In the middle of the field there. So that usually I feel like attributes to that. I'm sure our Canadian brethren up there could correct us if we're wrong and just talking out of our heinies, but I that's how I see it. I mean, a lot of times it's these quarterbacks who are all very talented in one way or another.
Yes.
Just being able to, at the end of a game, look, that defense, those 12 guys are just sitting back and they're kind of, all right, we're letting the clock run down. We're going to let you get your chunk plays. And that's where your stats come from probably. But it's fun to see, though. It's fun to see quarterbacks with 300 passing yards and, multiple touchdowns. But it does suck when you go, man, they must have won that game pretty good. Nope, they lost by 12 or whatever it was. Like, woof.
Yeah, that's true because at the end of the game, the defense is probably thinking, hey, you're 105 yards from the end zone, it's dark, and we're wearing shoulder pads. Something like that.
Okay, yeah. Way to ham fist in a
Blues Brothers reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
I guess that's appropriate.
You could be 105 yards
Canadian. I'll allow
from the end zone. Yeah, they're on their own 5-yard line. See, I'm not so stupid.
I mean, not so, but I mean.
All right, let's take the spotlight off of me here for a minute. Game notes. Ticats general manager Ted Govia was honored with a guitar sticker on the players' helmets. Did you see this during the game? Did you catch this?
I missed that one.
Okay. They showed the sticker. It was a little round sticker with a black sticker with a white outline of a guitar on it. He's a big fan of guitars. He is undergoing treatment for cancer right now, so they honored him on the players' game helmets, which I thought was pretty cool. Another game note here: Bo Levi Mitchell is still at 99 career wins. Had he won last night, that would have been a couple nights ago. That would have been his 100th CFL win. So he's still looking for that. Good luck next week. Maybe he'll get that. And the Stampeders kept talking all night long about their 80th birthday celebration. Now they didn't say this was their 80th season, and they're not wearing a patch on their uniform, so I don't know what the difference is. But to me, this means their 80th season. Edmonton came up with a 75th logo on their uniforms for that, and Toronto did that recently. So I don't know why we haven't seen a patch yet, but they kept saying 80th birthday celebration. And to that end, Doug Flutie and many other former Calgary players were at the game. on the sidelines enjoying the action and saw their old team come up with a big win in week 1. So congratulations to Calgary on that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our last game of the weekend. To me, this was the best game of the week with the best highlights. Now, I'll admit, I watched all of the first 3 games, and this game came on at 10 o'clock after the Calgary Edmonton game, and Calgary Hamilton game.
Yeah.
And this, I couldn't stay up anymore. It was midnight. I'd already watched one CFL game. I was dead tired, so I went to bed at halftime. I said I'll check the highlights, and I did. And I missed probably the greatest second half of a CFL game I've seen in a long time. Anyway, it was the BC Lions over the Edmonton Elks, 31-14. This was a battle between Trey Ford and Nathan Rourke, and this was the first time ever that 2 Canadian quarterbacks have met in week 1. Like I said, these were the highlights of the week for me. Edmonton was up 1-0 at the end of the first quarter. Another Rouge.
Yep.
Love to see that.
Great.
And they were up. Edmonton was up 7-3 at halftime. So really, the first half was kind of boring, and I think maybe that's why I went to bed. But boy, the second half was something else. BC led 17-7 at the end of the third quarter. BC outscored Edmonton 28-7 in the second half alone for the 31-14 win at home. Check out these stats. Nathan Rourke was 27 of 36 passing for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. Those 3 touchdowns all came in the second half. He also ran for 5 times for another 54 yards. Running back James Butler ran for 68 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown. And wide receiver, excuse me, his name is catching me up here. Wide receiver Stanley Berryhill III had 6 catches for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was, along with Nathan Rourke, the star of the second half of this game. Just 2 of the greatest touchdown passes from Rourke to Berryhill in that second half. Go check out those highlights. For Edmonton, Trey Ford, 18 of 16 passing for 178 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also ran 6 times for 54 yards, and he led the team in rushing. Wide receiver Justin Rankin had 5 catches for 67 yards and no touchdowns. So these are 2 of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the CFL. I was really looking forward to this matchup. The matchup was really good. Yeah, Trey Ford didn't play up to expectations, but I know he will in the weeks to come. And Nathan Rourke showed why he's one of the best young quarterbacks in the CFL. So this was a great game, especially the second half. Going on to a couple of game notes here. Just hang on, Adam. I'll let you talk in a minute. The start of the game was delayed on CBS Sportsnet here in the States due to the Calgary-Hamilton game going overtime. And I think I saw a thing on the screen that said that the game was going to start at 10:26 and on CBS Sportsnet. And so I waited around, and when it did finally kick in, they were already 3 or 4 minutes into the game. So I'm like, why didn't they catch it sooner? I mean, I know the game went about 10 minutes over, but that was just a little weird that they didn't start right up. Snoop Dogg performed a pregame concert, and there was all kinds of. I posted some videos of that. He threw a football up in the first row of the second tier, and that was pretty cool. So it sounded like they were and looked like they were having a great time at the Snoop Dogg concert before the BC always does something like this for the first week of the season. I think they had over 50,000 people there in that stadium. I don't remember the exact attendance, but great crowd, great pregame concert, great atmosphere. And now that we've been there, we know what an exciting place that BC place can be. So it just looked like a lot of fun.
Yep, highly recommend checking out BC Place for either a Grey Cup if it ever goes back, or a BC Lions game. I'm sure those are a lot of fun, and especially the first, like you said, the first game of the year, they got a Snoop Dogg concert. So the last game they played there had the Jonas Brothers. The first game this year, you get Snoop Dogg. I mean, diversity. I love it. I love the diversity of music there. But no, back to this game. Look, Nathan Rourke is probably, the hottest young quarterback in the league. A little bit of a slow start though for everybody. Let's be honest with you. And eventually, though, it was the Lions just got everything clicking. You kept talking about all these highlights, and there were some good highlights. That doesn't make this a great game. I was still kind of bored. I was still kind of like, because I mean, one of the best highlights was Trey Ford running around like back and forth across the field and getting the pass away. But it was like no touchdown. It didn't end up in a touchdown. It was just okay. He evaded some dudes for like an extra 20 seconds or whatever and made a nice play. That was like a highlight to me. But look, Nathan Rourke was still doing stuff with his legs too, and he looked great. So I'm very anxious to see the BC Lions, go on a run this year. I'd like to see some of these teams that we were like looking at last year, like, oh, could they make the jump? And they just fell short last year. It looks like some of these teams are off to good starts, and hopefully they can keep that momentum going, especially with a team like Toronto kind of banged up, losing in week 1 already. Again, it's real early in the season. A lot can change. And I'd like to see Trey Ford keep developing. That was something last year. It just seemed like they wouldn't stick with him. They need to just stick with him and let him develop. And let's figure out this year if he's the guy. If he's this immaculate player that we're all thinking he could be, because he's dynamic. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He can make the play, but can he start doing it consistently? He's got Fajardo there to kind of mentor him. So let's see where things go there in Edmonton, because I'm afraid that they're going to pull the trigger and put Fajardo in there at some point and take out Ford. Yeah. We'll see what they do. Also, Edmonton rocking some new uniforms this year. BC rocking the new logo. Just like a slight tweak to the BC logo, but the Elks kind of embracing the old Eskimos look, it looks like, with their uniforms and the helmet. I'm a little bummed that it seems like they're just kind of disregarding that elk logo, like the elk head logo. Like, not seeing it anywhere now on their social media, on any of their uniforms. Kind of bums me out because I like that. But what can you do? I get the double E is iconic there in Edmonton. But we'll see how the rest of the season goes for them. They got some improvement to do. But BC, I've got my eye on you. I think you're going to have a decent year. If Nathan Rourke stays healthy and keeps playing like this, you guys are in for something special this year.
Yeah, Cody Fajardo did score a touchdown in this game. He came in on a short yardage situation and scored on a 1-yard touchdown run. So he's there. Hopefully they'll just keep him around for insurance, and hopefully Trey Ford can stay healthy and keep improving every week, because he is very dynamic when he's on the field.
Yep. They just got to stick with him. He's got to stay healthy, and they got to stick with him.
Yep. And so with 9 teams up there, is on a bye every week. So this week it was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers who are on a bye. So they'll be in action next week. Okay, looking at the standings, kind of a moot point at this point of the year, but in the standings, in the East, it's Montreal with a 1-0 record, and then Toronto, Hamilton, and Ottawa have an 0-1 record. In the West, it's the BC Lions 1-0, Calgary Stampeders 1-0, Saskatchewan Roughriders 1-0, Edmonton Elks 0-1, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 0-0 because they haven't played yet. All right, looking ahead to next week, week 2, they got another Thursday night game. It's going to be BC at Winnipeg. On Friday night, it's going to be Montreal at Ottawa. Sunday, it's going to be Calgary at Toronto. And also on Saturday, it's going to be Saskatchewan at Hamilton. And Edmonton will be on a bye next week. This is where we normally plug in a little bit of news. There wasn't a whole lot of news, but I just wanted to make this comment here. Play-by-play announcer Rod Smith worked the Thursday night game opener in Saskatchewan, and then he was also there on Saturday night at the BC game. And to me, he is the voice of the CFL. Whenever I hear his voice, I know I am listening to a CFL game. Not that the other announcers they have aren't bad; they're all good. But his voice, just to me, is the voice of the CFL. I don't know if you feel the same way I do, but he's just he's just got an iconic voice for the CFL. He's been doing it a long time.
I agree with you, because it's always fun to be like, all right, you're watching the game one night, and the CFL's been pretty good about staggering games, so you at least get like a game a night throughout the summer, like on the weekends at least. And it's cool that, like, when they can get the broadcast crew to do more than one game in a weekend, you're like, yeah, way to go CFL, way to or TSN, whoever. I'm glad to hear that guy. But they got a bunch of great broadcasting
guys they do.
There. And gals, who do like the pre-game show and do the halftime show and all that. They put on a great show. So I got no complaints. I think they do it very well.
Yes, they do. Yep. Yeah, the crew in the studio They were at the first two games of the weekend. They were in the studio Saturday for both of those games. But yeah, their pregame show is great. Just the announcers are great. But to me, Rod Smith is the voice of the CFL. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing that out there. All right, anything else you wanted to add before we close this show out?
There was just a little bit of breaking news a couple hours ago
Okay.
in the CFL as the Saskatchewan Roughriders have signed former Argonauts running back Kadeem Carey to the team. I think that's a big blow for Toronto.
Yeah.
Kadeem Carey was very good for them last year.
Yes,
the year
he was.
before. And I'm a little bummed that he will not be in the double blue. But
Me too.
good for him going to Saskatchewan. I think that's going to be a good fit for him. And yeah, I'm liking Saskatchewan so far this year. Not just, 1-0, but I like what I saw out of them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the time we got for this week. Tune in again next week when Adam and I will review all the games played up north of the border. We'll be here throughout the CFL regular season and throughout the postseason, as well as the 112th Grey Cup game, which is going to be played in Winnipeg on November 16th. Check out highlights of all the games in the CFL each week on CFL.ca/videos. You'll find, individual play highlights and you'll have game recaps. It's all right there. CFL.ca/videos. That's where you can find it all. If you need help, we can assist you in picking out a team to follow all season long. You might be surprised how much fun the CFL really is to follow. It's a league that still uses real kickoffs, not that crap that the NFL is passing off as a kickoff these days. So if you want to see the old kickoffs that you remember, start watching the CFL because they're still doing it that way, and I love it.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that jab coming at all. I know I told you I read the script. Clearly, I didn't read that part.
Did you read this part? If you have any questions about the CFL, folks, you can ask them down in the comments. If we don't know the answer, we know some friends up in Canada who do know the answer, and we'll get the answers for you. All right. So remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than Adam and I sitting here in Kalamazoo. And until next time, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you next week somewhere around the 55-yard line.